What up, guys? The Bench Buddies are back with my Week 8 college football power rankings. But before we get into it, hit that subscribe button down below. Or not, I don't really care, but it would be nice if you did. Dropping from my rankings, Utah, Memphis, and Texas, even after a win. Obviously, Utah, great game against BYU in the Holy War. Just didn't go their way, and they're falling out of my top 25, but they are very close to getting right back in. Same goes for Memphis. If they can win this week against USF, they're back in. But being favorited by a ton against a team that just fired their coach, UAB, and losing, not a good look there for Memphis to be taken real seriously here at this point in the season. Same goes for Texas. I mean, I get they won an OT against Kentucky on the road, but I'm out. I'm fully out on Texas. I mean, those three teams are in my others receiving votes as well. Teams you need to talk about: Pitt got a win. SMU wins over Clemson. Illinois was off, but they're right there. Tulane, Iowa State, and San Diego State. I think they're a good team, but big test for them this week. And then Navy, still undefeated, but here we go again. I don't want to put them in just yet because, we saw what happened last year. The back half of the schedule's tough. They collapsed in those games, didn't really show up. So I'm still very cautious there on that Navy team. But we'll start with 25 through 21. And USF moves up after a blowout win against FAU. Like I said, Memphis, big game for them. And USF gets this win. More than likely, they're going to the American Championship game and playing for berth in the college football playoff. LSU goes from 13 to 22. And, I'm just not sold on this team. Maybe a little bit of an overreaction dropping them this low. But if they lose this week at home against Texas A&M, they're going to be falling out of everybody's rankings. But if they win, probably closer to that 10 to 12 range. So we're going to really see what this LSU team is made of. 23, I got Houston, and it shouldn't say that they beat Houston because obviously they are Houston. It should say Arizona. They beat Arizona at home. Now they get Arizona State on the road. If they can go win that game, I don't know why too many people are sleeping on Houston because, Arizona is a decent team this year. Arizona State obviously just upset Texas Tech, and if Houston could go in there and get them, Houston might be a top 15 team, maybe close to top 10 at this point next week. USC loses to Notre Dame on the road. Typical USC so far this year, they're 5-2, struggling out of, on the road, going to South Bend, losing, going to Illinois and losing. But this team is very good. They're off this week. They come back, get a home game, and they should win there to really get this team going in the right direction yet again. Michigan getting in the right direction before their rivalry game with Michigan State on the road. Beat Washington at home, but we do know Washington is not good in Big Ten play on the road, especially traveling all the way across country. Michigan really showed that they are a good team this year. Just a few hiccups against Oklahoma and USC, but this Wolverines team still has a case to make the playoff. They got to win out and beat Ohio State at the end of the year. 20 through 16. At 16, you got Cincinnati destroying Oklahoma State, 6-1, 4-0 in the Big 12. Baylor this week, a little tougher challenge at home, but Cincinnati, the way they've been playing, they should put up another 49. Louisville was not in my rankings, but they joined this week after beating Miami on the road Friday night. And I don't know, this Louisville team, Jeff Brom has got them in the right position here. Miller Moss looks good. They get Boston College at home. They can get to 6-1, and maybe they're going to be the team that causes chaos in the ACC, or is it going to be Virginia? Because Virginia, they're 3-0 in conference play, escaped Washington State on a safety. That's how they win this game late in the fourth on a safety. Travel to North Carolina into Chapel Hill. I mean, it's going to be a big game for North Carolina because they, want to prove that they still can play some good football with a ranked team coming in. And then at 19, Tennessee falls to Bama on the road. Still haven't won in Tuscaloosa since I think it's 97. So it's been a while since Tennessee has won there, and the trend continues. They go to Kentucky this week, hopefully for a get-right game there for Tennessee. They're not out of it yet, maybe out of the SEC race, depending on some tiebreakers, but they got to win out here. They got 5 games left, and they still have Vandy at the end of the year. So that's going to be, must-see game no matter what happens here. But Tennessee's got to take care of business and get back on track this week. And Arizona State, they got back on track last week. Texas Tech at home, it was nice to see Sam Levitt back. Played great in this one. You could tell he's a little bit dinged up in this one, but big test. I think this Houston-Arizona State game is an elimination game. for the not only Big 12, but for the college football playoff as well. So my eyes are going to be on that game where I don't think too many people's eyes are going to be on that one. So make sure you check that one out. 11 through 15, maybe a little bit of a overreaction because of recency bias, moving Texas Tech and Ole Miss out of my top 10. But losing on the road, Texas Tech looked awful for about 3.5 quarters and then figured it out late in the fourth, but it was too little, too late. Ole Miss kept up with Georgia. They scored, I think it was 5 straight drives, and then just kind of sputtered out there against Georgia late. But they definitely deserve to be top 12. This team looks like a playoff team, no doubt about it. But they got to go into Oklahoma and win that game if they really want to keep this, playoff hope alive because Oklahoma, they're in the same boat. They beat South Carolina last week on the road. Now I'm dropping them 2 spots just because, I had some teams better than them right now in the season, I think. So this Ole Miss OU game, not an elimination game, but it's going to have that intensity to it. So expect those two to go back and forth. And then Notre Dame beating USC, they move up 3 spots as they're off this week. Then Missouri, somehow, some way, find ways to win games. And it's a huge week for Missouri and Vandy because, they're the two teams that I don't think too many people had ranked this high. And here we are. It's going to be a big one. Two top 15 teams clashing it out for still a chance at an SEC championship berth and a chance at the playoff this year. So SEC has some big games with some big matchups this week. And we'll go 6 through 10. I'm going to start with 6 with Georgia Tech. What they're doing this year is great. They have an easy schedule for the ACC for the rest of the year. Obviously, Georgia at the end of the year, but going on the road at Duke was the game that would cause problems for this Georgia Tech team. But it didn't matter. Haynes King played well in this one. Yet again, a very balanced attack to get that win. Should beat Syracuse by at least 2 touchdowns at home. BYU at 7. I'm fully invested now. That was the game where if they're gonna lose, it's gonna be that one because Utah just seems like they're the team year and year again that they just somehow find ways to win these games to really put their name back in the conversation. But that's not the case right now. BYU is looking good. Bear Bachmeier played good enough in this one to get that win, but this could be a letdown spot for BYU going on the road to face Iowa State. So we're going to see how this BYU team responds because if they win this one on the road to Iowa State, probably knocking Iowa State out of the playoff picture as a whole, and BYU just one step closer to that Big 12 championship game. At 8, I have Oregon. There's the argument you could put Oregon over BYU and Georgia Tech, but I just right now at this point in the season, I just view undefeated a little better than one loss, and I get that Oregon lost to Indiana here, but you know whose resume is better, and you can make the argument that Oregon, well, Penn State's their best win, but I mean they're the reason why Penn State is just free falled this bad. So there's that argument as well, but I think regardless what's going to happen, Oregon has it all right in front of them. So this ranking is just kind of just a thrown together thing. Like Vandy, you could maybe put Vandy ahead of them with their resume, maybe a little better resume, but I'm keeping them at 9. Huge win over LSU at home. Now, if they beat Missouri, more than likely I might have them jump Oregon because Wisconsin sucks. Let's just be honest. Getting skunked to Ohio State last week. But Vandy and Diego Pavia find ways to win. They're gritty, looking really good. That's why I have them over Miami because Miami did not look really good this week. They Carson Beck's throwing 4 picks. I mean, come on. The whole game plan, you knew it was going to happen eventually, where they're going to make Carson Beck beat you. And it just seemed like Miami wasn't ready for that reality. And that's why they lost this game to Louisville. They get Stanford, who did beat Florida State, but Miami, you got to come out and put up 40 and win this game by 2 touchdowns to really have the country back believing in you. Because I think this Miami team, it's probably going to be Miami versus, if I'm picking right now, I'm going with Virginia in the ACC championship game. I'm not taking Georgia Tech. I don't know. Maybe it could be these two. Who knows? The ACC might be the conference that it all comes down to the last week. And I don't think anyone would have predicted that beginning of the year. But Miami, they really got to, figure it out now. Because if they stumble in this one and win a close one, then a lot more people are going to be out on Miami. Then 1 through 5, it's the same as the AP poll. Makes too much sense to not keep Ohio State at 1. 7-0, my preseason number 1, keeps winning and they keep performing well. Indiana blows out Michigan State at home. Tough game as a momentum wise. UCLA coming in hot. and a 3-game winning streak. And, why can't UCLA beat Indiana? And it's because Indiana is just better at all facets of the game right now. It's going to be a good game, I think. I think UCLA won't be able to keep up in this one, but man, the way Indiana's playing football right now, it could be Ohio State, Indiana in that Big Ten championship game for that #1 seed in the playoff. And same goes for Texas A&M and Alabama. I think those, and even Georgia, I guess you could say, because A&M and Bama undefeated in conference play. Georgia 4-1, but Georgia gets the big win over Ole Miss. Obviously, that's why they're jumping to the top five as they're off this week. And Gunnar Stockton, I mean, this kid is looking really good. He's making those throws, making the case for that Heisman. Same for Ty Simpson. Played well in this one against Tennessee. And the turning point obviously was halftime, right before halftime, getting the pick six. Pretty much a 14-point swing there for Tennessee, and they just couldn't recover after that. And Bama put their foot on the gas and just kept on going. And then A&M, it wasn't pretty, but they still put up 45, gave up 42 to Arkansas. But that's okay because I think this A&M team is just going to find ways to win. We've seen it, like they went into Notre Dame, beat them in a high scoring game. And A&M just, I don't know, is this the year where they finally put it all together and make a run? I'm hoping it is because I want a little more chaos here later in the year. So who knows? Maybe that's going to happen this week. A&M loses to LSU on the road. LSU's back in it. A&M, falls back a little bit, and SEC just gets on more crazier. But we shall see. You'll have to come back next week to see where your favorite team ranks, but make sure you check out my picks video with Ty, as always, every single week. And once again, hit that subscribe button down below so you don't miss any of our content. Till the next time, Bench Buddies are out.